Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Levi Tinker with the TCL Chinese Theaters, and I'm here with my good friend Donovan Scott, who played Castor Oyl in Popeye, the movie, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary in the month of December. And Scotty has been so graceful today as to join us here for a short Q&A about making Popeye. So
Totally my pleasure.
cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Scotty. And so, can we kind of begin with getting cast in Popeye and how that came about for you?
Well, I had just done Incredible Shrinking Woman and 1941,
Mhm.
and so I was doing a lot of physical comedy, and I was in a play called Zen Boogie, which was a rock musical, big hit in Los Angeles, and doing lots of physical comedy in that. So I got a call from Scotty Bushnell, which was um, Altman's right hand woman, and said they had heard about me through my commedia background and my physical comedy background. Would I please come down? They were looking for townspeople. So I went to the studio. I can't remember the name of the studio now. It's still there. Darn it. I'll remember later. Anyway, I went to the studio. It's a big open studio, and half of the cast, I mean, half of the people there were the Pickle Family Circus people
Mhm.
from San Francisco, all physical comics and character actors and stuff. And they started performing their circus tricks, doing flips and flipping each other and juggling, and I'm going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm an actor who does physical acting. And about two-thirds of the way through the audition, I just said, I can't wait till be last because I don't have anything to finish the finale here. So I got up, I walked across the room, I tripped over an invisible rock, did a flip onto my back, got up, looked down, and started laughing, doing a little. Did you see what I was just fell down? I was walking across, and then whoop, and I finished that and walked out of the room and went home. I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to do. By the time I got home, I had a message saying, Robert Altman would like you to play one of the family characters, uh, Castor Oyl, if you're interested. And I went, oh my God, I got this. I was so excited, so excited.
How were you a fan of the original comic strips and the cartoons?
The cartoons I had watched, I did. My dad always loved the Popeye comic strips, so he would show them to me, or he'd say, "Oh, this one's funny." I wasn't a regular
Mhm.
person on that. It wasn't quite my genre of what I like to get involved in, but I certainly got involved in it once I got hired. I started
Mhm.
looking at all kinds of stuff and enjoying it. I love the old cartoons, the
Mhm.
kind of three-dimensional ones that were I don't know, part model and part animation. I love those.
How now after being cast, how soon was it then that the production moved over to Malta, and what was the rehearsal process like for that?
We didn't. It was, I believe, I found out maybe early November,
Hmm.
and we were supposed to be there January 1st.
Okay.
We didn't meet anybody. Oh, we did. Altman had a couple of screenings of his movies, which he loves to do, and one of them was Health,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was Perfect Couple with Paul Dooley.
Yeah.
And actually, Paul Dooley was in Health as well. And so we got to meet some of the people, some of the cast there. There were some people that were coming from New York, but most of the cast, and some the Pickle Family Circus from San Francisco. But any of the actors in Los Angeles, Dooley was there, and Richard Libertini was there, and I can't remember if Shelley was there at the time, if that's where I met her. No, she wasn't because she was shooting The Shining
Hmm.
at the time. But whoever the cast, whoever the people were that were in Los Angeles, we went to the screenings, and so we got to meet each other there. But basically, we met everybody in Malta.
Wow, very cool. What was that like coming to Malta to film this huge production?
Uh, well, I was on cloud nine. I was so excited. This is my first, co-starring role, and getting on the island, we didn't see any bad things yet. We just saw, we went to the set. They showed it off. The set that they brought in the wood from Italy because there was no wood on Malta, and they built this incredible place that all these little unique little ornamentations outside the buildings that moved and all that stuff. And Altman was very proud of all this. And so we took that tour and started meeting each other and finding out our quarters and all that stuff. So it was nothing but excitement. We had our own little placards for our luggage, and the main cast was in one area, and then the rest of the townspeople and cast were in another area because they couldn't take all of us in one place. So we started getting acquainted, and people still hadn't come in, like uh, Ray.
Mhm.
Uh, don't get this old. Don't you get Walston. Ray
Mhm.
Walston came later. Shelley was still shooting The Shining, so she was coming later. And that's when we started the rehearsal process with costumes so that Altman could get an idea of what we all looked like and the different areas and stuff. And so we kind of did parades and stuff for him. We had the makeup people from Fellini.
Mhm.
So they were trying all kinds of weird things. I think I was the only one that didn't get prosthetics. I guess my face was cartoon enough. They were unique makeup people, and everybody spoke Italian from the crew because it was Giuseppe Rotuno who was doing the photography, which was fantastic. Also a Fellini photographer,
Mhm.
and so that was all very interesting.
I remember, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite movies. But it was one of the first movies I saw in a theater when I was a kid, and I just, at the time, being like 5 years old, I was just amazed how it really was a comic strip come to life, and
Yeah,
just imagine what it would be like on that set day in and day out. And the fact that it's still standing today, 40 years later, as an amusement park is incredible as well.
amazing. Um, it was a unique experience because it was Altman for one thing. And so he wanted cartoon, but he also wanted some honesty to the characters as well, uh, because he wanted you to stay alive even if you're in the background as a character, because he mic'd you. He mic'd everybody that was on the set. So if you had an ad lib or something, he let you do it. Then if he didn't like it, he would come back the next time and say, "Let's hold off on that. It was funny, but it's not going to work in the scene, or it's distracting, or whatever." He liked distractions, but he liked them to distract in a way that focused on what was going on in the main thing. So it was just exciting because Altman allows you to be creative. He hires actors to do the job, and then he lets them do it instead of manipulating. He really coordinates, and that was a unique experience for me because I just worked with Spielberg, who's very technical and has everything set up and planned out. Um, and So this experience was totally different and probably the best experience I ever had in film. And I've had some great experiences, but this one was great because we got to be creative and we were surrounded for 6 months with creative people. We had the pickle set family circus there with us. So when we were offset, we were learning how to juggle and toss each other and learn clown routines. And we used to put on variety shows. Altman loved variety shows, and we would put on these incredible variety shows, doing some comedy routines that we had done before, stuff that we had learned. We had Libertini and McIntyre Dixon, who were a comedy team. So we had their routines. We had Robin Williams, who was nonstop comedy routine. And it was just an environment that has never been repeated for me in a film.
one of the things that's so also great about the movie is everyone in that film is perfectly cast,
Yeah.
down to the townspeople. But Robin as Popeye, Shelley as Olive Oil, you as Castor, everyone, Ray as Prefect Happy. It Everyone is just so perfectly cast in that film. Can you talk a little bit about working with your co-stars?
Sure. First of all, it was supposed to be Dustin Hoffman and Lily Tomlin playing Popeye and Olive Oil,
Mhm.
but that was before Altman got it. Then Altman, even though I think Lily Tomlin is a fantastic actress, Shelley didn't really have to act. She
Yeah.
was that. When I met her, she was just a crazy, wonderful, giving, fun-loving person. And Robin, I was at first a little frightened of him because when he's on, he is just non-stoppable.
Mhm.
But we became really good friends, um, and we had a lot of similar likes uh, and films. We talked films all the time, and he was just incredible. And uh, we had Bill Irwin, who is the American clown, and all these people were generous, giving. These are circus people and uh, uh, comedy performers. So the environment is more like, stop, please stop. I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. And Altman loved that kind of environment, loved being around it as well. So it was truly the most fun experience I've ever had.
Right.
Every one of these people. Shelley became a great friend. She gets into the character. She is the character, but she gets into the idea of the character like I was her brother. So she only called me brother
Yeah.
on the set.
Mhm.
She never called me Scotty.
Mhm.
Sometimes she called me Castor.
Mhm.
She would always call me brother. Um, and it was that kind of environment that we all lived in. And Altman kind of um, perpetuated that.
Mhm.
He really wanted us to be a unit. The only person who didn't join in was Paul Smith,
Yeah.
Ludo, which kind of worked out for everybody because he's the villain. We're not supposed to like him that much.
Yep.
And he was a real pain in the ass, but he did his job really well.
What would you say for you was the most rewarding aspect of making Popeye and the most, I guess, technically challenging as an actor to appear in the film?
Well, challenging was the first week, maybe 2 weeks, I can't remember now, of shooting because I was up on that frigging pole, holding on to that pole, and literally they would say, "Okay, roll camera," and I'd have to be up there for the whole scene that was shooting down there. I'm in the background. You can barely tell it's me. You could have put a dummy up there. I think they did put a dummy, which was me, for staying up there. Uh, but that was hard. The rest of it was just fun. The most fun I had was anytime we had some time off while Altman was shooting something else.
Mhm.
Um, Peter Bray, who's the big giant guy that I fight in the boxing match, and I would go and rehearse the fight, and we made up the fight. We totally choreographed the fight ourselves. Altman would come in daily, and
Mhm.
he'd say, "Okay, boys, show me what you got." And he'd take a drink while he was watching, and we would show him what we got, and he would say, "Okay, I love this. This, I don't know if I can even shoot that, so let's change that up if we can." And he would come in and give us pats on the back and corrections. And we did that for about 2 weeks.
Mhm.
When we finished the shoot and came home to Los Angeles and they edited, uh, Robert called me in and said, "I want you to come in and see your scene." And I was so excited because this is my first time to see my fight scene.
Mhm.
I saw it in dailies. We all got to see dailies, um, but put together. And he said, and I watched it. I laughed my head off. He was sitting right next to me, laughing his head off. And he said, "Okay, you've seen it." I said, "Yeah, I love it." He says, "I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to cut most of this because Robbins is not as funny. It's a lot more technical stuff. So in order to give him the focus that he needs in this movie, I'm going to have to cut some of this stuff." And I wanted to cry.
Oh
I was hoping that they would at least give me the cut version so I would have it, but that never happened.
Wow.
And there was a lot cut out of that. That was a 3.5 hour movie
Hmm.
of just pure shtick that
Hmm.
all these great clowns and comic actors did.
Hmm.
But that was the most fun, was choreographing my own fight and having that.
Nice. Another great aspect of the film is, of course, Harry Nilsson's music.
Oh yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about you know being a part of this of a big musical like that, like Popeye?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because that's another one of my favorite genres is musicals. So, and to find out Harry was doing it was another thing because I've been listening to his music since it, came on the radio in those days. Uh, and I went over to Altman's house one time before we went to Malta, and he played Harry singing the songs, and that was exciting because it's very odd. It's odd music for a musical, for one thing, and it's fairly simple, but it's very hairy,
Mhm.
you know. And when we got there and got to meet him and all the kinds of people that were coming over to visit him while he was working there, they built a big. Malta was built there. It wasn't the studio was not there before, and they built the studio, a sound stage, which also converted into our screening theater because Disney was behind part of Popeye, so they sent all these Disney movies for the kids to watch and stuff. And Altman had all of his movies, and Shelley sent over some scenes from The Shining,
Yeah.
uh, and so we watched those. But in the evenings, we would work with Harry, and George Harrison was there. There was incredible musicians, and one of the people in our show, who was Van Dyke Parks,
Mhm.
was also helping Harry with the music, and is a brilliant person as well.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just this whole thing was a dream. The whole thing was a dream come true to me, and they were all great people, great hearts. Um, the experience was never negative; it was always fantastic.
Very cool. Now I want to jump ahead to the opening of the movie, which of course opened right here at the GCL
Yes.
Theater. And I've seen a few small photos over the years of that premiere where they actually had it themed like Sweet Haven in parts of the parking lot, and
In the back, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, gigantic, like 2 or 4 story can of spinach,
mhm,
and part of a replica of some of the set of Sweet Haven was there. Um, I was shooting Zorro the Gay Blade at the time,
mhm,
and Doc Erickson was producing that as well as he produced Popeye. So um, I said, "Look, they're having a premiere. Is it possible?" And they said, "Well, they were shooting a scene, the ballroom scene for Zorro." And I said, "Well, does Paco have to go into that?" And he said, "No, no, Paco can stay out." So Zorro says goodbye to me and he goes in, and I go home. I go to Los Angeles. And the evening of the premiere, I got all dressed up. I was driving a Pacer at the time. I don't know if you remember Pacers, but they were just big bubble cars.
mhm,
And I was living over by Pink's Hot Dog, so not far from the theater. And so we drove to the theater, and I had no idea
mhm,
what was going on. I just thought it was a screening of Popeye.
mhm,
The the lights were going across the sky, people were lined up, limos were lined up, and I'm in a Pacer. And I went, "Oh my God, we have to take this home." Took it home immediately, which was, a 5-minute drive, and called a taxi and had a taxi bring me to the theater. I didn't want to be seen in a Pacer. And walked down the red carpet. I mean, it was old movie time.
yeah.
Uh, Celebrities on both sides, waving and yelling and saying hello, and interviews, and I've got all of it that were shot for television, news things. Um, Waiting for Robin to arrive in his limo, and Shelley and Altman, and uh, everybody in the cast that I can remember was there,
Mhm.
and incredible people from television and film, all with their kids, which was a wonderful thing. You know, it wasn't just a bunch of adults that were going to go in and judge. There was a kid audience in there, and we needed that, and that was just phenomenal to see those kids go crazy like they did.
Right. What for you? What was it like experience? Was that first of all? Was that your first time experiencing the entire movie cut together? And if so, what was that like for you seeing it up there on the big screen here?
Was that the first time? What? I'm so sorry.
Was that the first time that you experienced the entire cut of the movie? And if so, what was that like experiencing it here on this?
No, we had a cast screening first,
Mhm.
so I had seen the movie.
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember if that was the final cut, though. I cannot remember. But it was the first time to see with an audience, and
Right.
that's a movie that an audience is great in,
Mhm.
because they've got their heroes and they've got their villains, and they hiss and they scream and they yell and they holler. And I had never experienced anything like that. In fact, I think that might have been the first movie that I did that I experienced in a movie theater. I saw 1941 at a screening,
Mhm.
and I don't know if Incredible Shrinking Woman. Yes, it had come out, and I'd seen that at a screening. So this is the first time I'd gone to a movie theater for a film that I was in,
Nice,
and I loved it. I just loved it.
nice.
And
And
what a place to see it in. I mean, that was the classic for me. I've seen that scene of red carpet and the lights going and everything. I've seen it so many times in movies,
mhm,
and I could not believe that I was in it.
so cool. And I've watched it many times over the years, and what's great. Last year when you came out and took part with Paul and and
The
uh,
Altman brothers.
and the Altman and yeah,
Altman.
for our screening that we did, getting to see it up on our screen here in the Chinese Six was just amazing, and it holds up so well, and it's gained a whole new audience as well too. What
Yeah.
is that like for you, knowing that this movie is standing the test of time, and that new audiences discover it on almost a daily basis?
Yeah, and it's a new. The experience is getting better and better as people. When it was a Robin Williams vehicle, it really got a lot of criticism and expectation. Not
Mhm.
so much criticism, but expectation. Uh, and now people don't have that expectation, so they just sit back and enjoy this this real bubble of an experience.
Mhm.
They take you go to another world now, and you can have the fun of all the newness of what that means
Yeah.
in that cartoon world like that. So there's no pressure on it. It's just watching and being relaxed, and I think that's the best experience. I think that's why people are enjoying it even more now, because there's no pressure, there's no criticism. It's just what it is. And
Mhm.
what it is just a lot of fun. Visually, it's stunning. The set is phenomenal. I've never seen a set so detailed as that. Um, and as you said earlier, every one of those characters is so well cast that you feel when you see one, you already know the history of that character.
Mhm.
So it's an amazing thing, and it's so rewarding as an actor. I mean, that's the best thing about being an actor is even as you get older and you can't do the things you used to be able to do, it's up there. It's done, and people can see it forever. It's history.
Yeah. Have you been back to Malta to Popeye Village since the movie?
No, I have not. Uh, one of the little kids in it, whose father was Larry Pizzoni, uh, one of the lead, the owner of Pickle Family Circus, she went back, and she said they treated her like she was a movie star. She was just a little kid in it,
Mhm.
but the whole island went crazy over it. And she went to visit it. She says it's quite changed. It's all painted like a cartoon now,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
It looks great too. It looks
Mhm.
great. But they didn't have wood on
Mhm.
Malta.
Yeah.
Their national forest was 9 trees that France gave them many years ago. Everything's built out of cement. Everything's built out of cement.
Hmm.
So it's a unique thing for the island.
Cool. Well, Scotty, I want to thank you very much for taking the time today and sitting down with us and discussing Popeye on what's coming up to be its 40th anniversary.
Well, it was my pleasure. I could speak hours on this. It was a fantastic experience, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it and that other people are enjoying it even more now.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.